Okay, I've decided, well, first things first, I went ahead and cut off that little flap of wood that's been hanging off of there since I glued these wedges in. Finally took those off. And flip this thing over. And there's my neck. And it's still got a good bit of play in it, so I'm going to have to figure out exactly what straight is once I get my bridge in before I set this thing, because I don't want to have it sitting off center and have my string angles off. But what I'm going to do in the meantime is something I had thought about but hadn't fully planned on doing. Let's see. Fit this in here. What I'm going to do is go ahead and cut this down so it fits tighter against the edge of this, so it'll be a little smoother transition, so I don't have that big blocky looking piece out. And if it's not perfect when I get the neck in there straight, I can always kind of go back and hit it again just to get it perfected. But for now, I'm just going to kind of smooth that out from that line. Alright, today what I'm going to be doing is getting my neck pocket and neck drilled for the dowel rods that I'm going to use to support these things, in addition to gluing it in. What I'm going to have to do is, since I've got so much wiggle room in this pocket, what I'm going to have to do is align this thing so that it is straight, clamp it before I drill my blocks. So what I've done, I've gone ahead and put my tailpiece in. I still don't have my bridge yet. But I went ahead and put that in, and I am going to install two of the tuners, the high E tuners. I've already got them out and ready to go. Put my nut back on, of course. Then I'm going to take two of my old strings, and I'm going to run them from here up to the E strings, and I'm going to get this thing adjusted to where it is perfectly straight. And then I'll be throwing my C-clamp on it with some of my little wood wedges. And get my mini Tanya Harding out of the way. And then I will be drilling 3/8 inch holes in the back. Let me move this. I'll be drilling my 3/8 inch through the back of these, through the shim, which I've already got glued in, and into the back of the heel. So when I get done, I will have holes all the way through, all three layers, at which point I will be able to install my 3/8 inch dowel rods. This is basically all prep work at this point. I won't be actually setting the neck until I get the neck itself painted. You can see I'm still working on getting my heel ground down. That's what I'm doing, is I've got that thing shaped so that it will have a smooth transition instead of having that big blocky square piece sticking out. So it'll look nicer once I get everything filled in. I still have to get that smoothed out around there, and I've got that fairly flat. So when I go to paint this thing, I'm going to tape this off, and I'm going to tape this part off, and then when I finally go to glue it in, everything will be all right. So let me go ahead and get my tailpiece on and my tuners on and the 2 strings on, and I'll show you what I'm doing. Okay, I've got my strings on and my nut and my bridge. So you can see as it stands, if this neck is like flat up against that side, see how crooked that is? But if I adjust my neck over, about that much, it looks much better. Of course, that leaves a bit of a gap there, which I can put a shim in there to hold that. So if you let go of it, it just goes right back. So what I need to do is shim that in place right there. Maybe. All right. I'll tell you, this little pack of shims that I bought from the hardware store has really come in handy. I'm using these things a lot more than I thought I would. Now, they might actually be a little too thick to go in that spot. No. I just put just the tip of it in there. That's going to be too much. Let me try a guitar pick. They make good shims too. And this is going to be just enough to hold the neck in place until I get it clamped down. Shit. I'm also going to, well, I won't be able to tune these things to pitch, obviously, because the neck's not attached. But this will give me enough to check my clearances here. I'm going to tune this a little. Be enough to take enough slack out of the string so I can kind of see where it's going to sit. If I pull that sucker, if I tune them too tight, of course they will pull the neck right off the guitar. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and bring these up high enough that they actually clear the fretboard. I would normally use the bridge to do this, but I don't have it yet, so that's why I went ahead and tapped my anchors in so that I could have room to do this. I've got my neck sitting right about where I need it to sit. Looks like my bridge might actually be a little high once I get it on there. Give it enough clearance. Actually, it won't be so bad because it'll be closer to the neck. Goodness. Look at that. Alright, so at least I got that too, so they're clear of the frets, so they're not actually sitting on the fretboard, so they can move clear if they need to. And that looks pretty darn good. That looks pretty darn good. So what I will do here is I will move this over. I will go ahead and take one of my shims. Actually, I'll put big end down here so it'll actually kind of sit somewhat flat. I'll take that and this is kind of weird. I've never done this before, and this is like, there's no tutorials about how to turn a bolt-on into a set deck. There's just one video of a guy saying that he did it and not telling anybody really how he did it. So, you know, this is going to be a first for YouTube, I guess. How to turn a bolt-on into a set neck. I might just make a series out of that part, I don't know. Alright, taping that shim down. Alright. Now, I'm going to take my C-clamp. Where is that? Alright. This is going to be interesting. Alright, I'm going to take my C-clamp and I am going to carefully turn this thing over. Alright. Put my clamp right there. Let me go ahead and turn it in a little more. This is going to be interesting. So y'all go ahead and get a good laugh at me while you're at it, because I'm sure there will be some hilarity ensuing here, because this is, whew. It's the process nobody's told me how to do. Put the tar pick back in. Make sure that's still pretty okay. All right. Drilling from the back, so I'm going to need to have the front as level as I can have it. No, sir, I don't like it. Tighten this thing down. You know what? Okay. The exact spot where I'm going to need to drill through is covered by my shims that I'm using to protect the wood. So you know what? I'm going to go ahead and pull those out, because that entire area is going to be refinished anyway. So if I done it, so what? Okay. Lord have mercy. All right. Main thing I'm worried about is not messing up my frets, because I don't want to do any more fret work than I have to. Anyway. Alright. That's another thing too. I'm working with a bunch of slopes here, so no matter what I try to do, it's going to try to follow the slope of the guitar. So here's what I'm going to do. I should have planned this out a little better. Of course, I had it all planned out in my head. It all worked perfectly. It was a swimmingly good idea in my head. It's just kind of usually the way things turn out. They turn out to be shitty ideas. Or they don't turn out to be as easy as I thought they were going to be. But, you know, it's a learning experience either way, so. Jesus. It's not working. Alright, I might have to come up with a plan B here to hold this son of a bitch in place. I'll get it, it's just going to take a minute. There we go. Alright. It's on. Alright, now you readjust the. I am going to readjust this neck so many times before I drill that it's not even going to be funny, because I want to make sure that I only have to do this once. So sure to butt it up against there as tight as it'll go. It appears to be. Yes. And my strings are still straight. Alright, so what I'm going to do now. One unintended consequence here is that since I got my bridge in, or my tailpiece in, and it's sticking so far out, it's actually giving me a little bit of a tripod kind of thing here. I'm going to put something else under here to help support that side. That's perfect. Roll tape. Improvise. Alright, now I'm going to break this off because I don't need anything except for the part underneath. Hey, that's perfect. The only other thing is going to be getting the drill down past this. What I'll do is I'll just move this out of the way over here. Okay, that's going to be interesting. Okay. So, double check my alignment. Looks pretty good. Alright. I'm going to need something else over here. All kinds of all kinds of support under this thing now. Alright, I'm gonna get my drill out. Good thing about Forstner bits, I don't have to worry so much about pallet holes because they kind of make their own. Alright. 3/8. Let me see if I'm even going to be able to get this. Oh, shit. Alright, what I might have to do is do the 2 back holes. Man. I might have to do the 2 back ones. Or the ones like further toward the body. And then move the clamp and do the other 2, because that's going to give me angles. I don't want angles. Or some angles might not be too bad, because then, yeah, no, it won't work. So. Alright. Oh yeah. Gotta see how deep I need to go first. Alright, so of course it's going to depend on how deep. These are all slightly different depths where these ferrules are. And of course it's going to be thicker back here than it is up here because of the shim that I have in there. So I want to go no deeper than ½ an inch, or no more than a ¼ inch maybe, into the neck itself. Maybe a ½ inch. Because the neck heel is about 1 inch thick. So I might go in about a ½ an inch, which will put me at about, I'm kind of eyeballing here. They put me at about 1 1/4 inches. Alright. Piece of tape on this thing. And remeasure. Measure 47 times, cut once. I'm going to go about 1 1/4 inch. And that gives me, okay, about 1 1/4 inch. As long as I'm going into the neck at least 1/4 inch, I'm happy with it. And it doesn't matter if I'm centered or not, as long as I'm going somewhat straight. Stupid thing jumped on me. Why? Yeah, like I said, no matter if it's centered or not, it's going to be covered up anyway. So, here we go. there. All right, now I'm not sure if it's gone into the maple or not. I hit some resistance there, so I'm assuming that's probably where it was. I'm still only about an inch into the entire process. I'm in something here. Alright, the camera cut off after I got my first hole drilled. I'm not exactly sure why. But as you can see, I've got those in and they are not centered, which is fine because it's going to get plugged and filled and everything anyway. You'll never see those again, ever. I got into the maple maybe about 3/16 of an inch back here. Once it hit that maple, it did not want to go any further, so that's fine. Once I get these other two drilled down about as far, then I can use those holes as guides. I'll clamp the neck down and put the Forstner bit down into the neck enough to get that 1/2 inch that I want to get. And then once that's all in, my dowel rods will go down in those holes and go through all 3 layers. We'll hold that neck in place, and that sucker ought to be nice and strong once it's set up. I'm going to reclamp the neck down. I'm going to realign the strings and everything, kind of the way it was, and reclamp everything at different spots so I can get better access to these holes. You saw in the other segment that I did not have clearance between the drill and the clamp. So I will get that all done and I will be back. Alrighty, I've got my holes drilled into the neck now. My 3/8 inch dowels, they'll go in there right nicely. So then they should slide in real nicely to these. Yeah, I think this is going to work out just fine. And you know, they should be about perfectly lined up. You know, because they use the original holes from drilling through this into this to complete these. They go a 1/2 inch down into the neck. That's not really super far, but I didn't want to go too awful far because I didn't want to go too deep. I'm not exactly sure where the truss rod ends on this thing and how wide it is, so especially for that one I didn't want to go too far. But that'll be deep enough into it, I believe, that once I get everything glued in, and this has got glue on it, and this has glue in it, and this has glue on it, and everything's got glue on it, it should never move again. So that's in theory anyway. I was originally thinking about, you know, I was talking about making a tenon out of this to extend into the pickup cavity and all that stuff, but you know, this material will be like really kind of too thin to be that effective, and it's pine basically. The only problem that I foresee happening here is this being pine, is it possibly compressing, but I've got some pretty solid hard grain running through it, like right here and right here and right here. That's all like the more solid grain of the pine, and that doesn't compress as easily as, say, this stuff does. And I could tell that when I was cutting through it with my little hacksaw and my razors and whatnot. But that's some pretty tough grain, those dark spots. So that's about as far as I'm going to go with that part right now. I could test fit it. Tell you what, I'm gonna go ahead and get adventurous and do that. All right, so let me take this clamp off. And I'm gonna do this with one hand. I hope this works. Alright, so the body, I'm going to get that, lay that flat. Let's see, I'm going to lean this against my post so we can get a stupid thing. Press that down into there. Oh, look at that. Alright. So once I get that clamped in, you notice it has no wiggle. There's no wiggle like it had before. That sucker is nice and tight. It's got a little bit of wobble this way, but of course once I get that glued and clamped down, that'll go away. Yeah, that's nice and tight. I think we may have a successful conversion from a bolt to a set neck here. Now there's a little bit of a gap right there, but that's basically just where the neck angle is tilted back, so there's really nothing I can do about that. It shouldn't affect the scale length at all. And let's see what we got here. Okay, this is where they've come through the back. Hey, they won't leave me quite as much to fill in. I'll probably just be able to use wood putty or plastic wood to fill that in. And of course this one will have to be shaved down a little bit, these two, because of course this part of that part's thinner than the rest of it. But I think this is going to turn out real nice. I'll actually probably, up here, I'll probably actually take some slivers of wood and make a little shim to fill in that side, so it won't be such a large gap. That side looks pretty good, so I don't have to worry about that. I don't know, maybe once I get the glue in there it'll fill that gap up. That'd feel better actually putting the shim in there, so I'll probably take one of my shims and kind of cut it down flat, or at least cut pieces out of it to jam down in there to kind of, I don't know yet. I'll figure it out. Might even just take some slivers or something and glue them in the side. But that's basically where I'm going to be stopping on this part of my project. The next thing I'll be doing is doing some flattening out. I'll finish flattening out the neck, and then doing some more sanding. And I am just about ready to start doing some primering. So exciting.